trying to get my second wind or deciding if I'm ready to go to bed.
I think the first word I got when I hit record was woo.
Woo.
So is that your number one on your strength finders?
What? Woo. It is
your Clifton
winning.
top 5.
Winning others over.
Woo. Winning others over. And you are a wooer.
I am a
You can woo.
woo. Okay, we won't go any further with that because you know what I'm about to say. Okay.
So last week, I had somebody ask me, and you just forget I forget what we talk about, but they said, so did you end up getting sick? So it was literally a week ago tonight where I was not feeling well. And they said, man, you could hear it in your voice. Dude, you said you've never seen me in our this coming June, 36 years of marriage. You have never seen me throw up. The last time I threw up was we went on that fishing trip. Me and Hatch and B and Stegall. We went to Lake Jackson and we did the offshore fishing trip. And it wasn't the seasickness. You know, I avoided that. That's a good story about Ernesto who lost it. Shout out to a little hey to Ernesto and all my roomies, my college roomies. But no, it was when we came back and we prepared the fish and we all ended up getting food poisoning. And that was, I don't remember throwing up in the last 35 years.
Yeah, I don't remember you throwing up.
I hurled 4 violent.
I hope everyone listening is okay with talking about hurling.
About hurling? Man.
I know someone who you can't even say it.
So turns out Max and Georgia were sick. Chandler was sick. And then I got it. You got it.
Yes.
Man, it was brutal.
Yeah.
But it was about 24 hours. And so I can tell you, after the weirdest night and no sleep and just living in the bathroom, the next morning it's like, I felt a little bit just kind of pint low, but then as the day, nice little shower and kind of sweated it out. And man, by, after a couple of cups of coffee and by mid-morning, man, I was feeling like 85, 90%. And then by that afternoon, I was back.
Yeah.
But that was brutal. So, yes, thank you for asking and thank you for caring. We were both sick, but we pressed on. We had a good week. And we just got off of our first ever intensive.
Yes.
So we are certified marriage mediators through EXO Marriage Institute.
So what does that mean?
Yeah, we did a 2-day intensive with a couple. And, man... what an experience.
Yeah.
So many takeaways for me, and we got a great review. We're going to wait and share that. We got a great review from the couple already. Man, it sounded like a professional reviewer. And Chat GPT has nothing on this girl.
No. Even going into, so this was, these were people that we knew and have worked with before. And they self-admitted, said, we might be the hardest couple you've ever worked with. And so I don't know if that is true. I think actually we probably could have been the hardest couple anybody had ever worked with back in the day. But it was a joy to get to walk.
Yeah, about 5 minutes ago, we were sitting out on the front porch. I'd been on a walk and I came back and you started talking about some things you wanted to share. I said, whoa, stop, save it. I don't like to talk about it. I don't like to rehearse. I don't like to go over the things we're going to talk about first because, you lose the, you lose the.
Wow. Did you forget where we were? You forgot your manners. You have no manners.
that pizza. That was great food we ate in Canyon Lake, Texas.
down by Wimberley. So one thing that excited...
hang on.
Oh,
so
sorry.
I said, let's come in and let's roll it. But this is going to be very difficult because we don't want to spoil. We don't want to, we're going to keep obviously everything confidential and the couple confidential, but even the elements of the intensive, we've shared a little bit already.
Yes.
But man, we just want to keep that kind of up our sleeve because it's just so special. But man, what a great experience. So this is going to be a little tough to keep. So if you hear us biting our words, and because I don't like to edit these things, it's just because we're probably going to start down a road that we don't want to go all the way down. But we do want to share what a positive experience it was for us, for that couple, and man, what the breakthroughs that we saw, and especially this morning on that final day. Wow.
So I think first, some people may know what an intensive is. You can kind of surmise it's an intense situation, but maybe we should just explain more the concept.
Well, we've already had a few questions because when they hear the word mediation, because that's in the title, it's not marriage mediation in that it is. It's marriage reconciliation mediation. It's not divorce mediation.
Right.
So most people, when they hear the word mediation, it's the context of, going through a divorce. And many of the couples that we see are contemplating or on the verge of, they're hanging by a thread. But the purpose of this, it could be the last ditch effort, it could be the Hail Mary, but the purpose of this is to go into it and to learn some new skills and to do some things differently and to think differently. So, because our beliefs drive everything. And so what we see is most people are believing lies. And so then they base their feelings and their thoughts and then their actions off of those lies. And then they start showing up and they're breaking all kinds of the 4 foundational laws of marriage. And So that's what it is. It's sitting down instead of this 1 hour at a time. And I think you went into that last time we talked about it. Instead of just sitting 1 hour at a time with a couple, and then they got a schedule next week or in every other week or once a month or whatever. And it's trying to reschedule, trying to get all the stars aligned for all 4 of us to get together. And by the time you do that, they've ripped the scab off, and any progress they've made, sometimes they've 3 steps forward in the session, then 4 steps back during the week. And this is setting aside a full 8 hours or a full 16 hours and saying, we're going to dive in, and we're not going to go just back and forth and tit for tat and same old, and just get into the fighting and the he said, she said, and will you do this? Will you do that? And we're going to take a time out, and we're going to teach, and we're going to learn some new skills for the way we communicate with each other, and the way we handle conflict, and just change our mindset, because the battlefield is in the mind. And so be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so it's about renewing your mindset about yourself, about your partner, and about God, his interplay in the dynamic of the couple.
Yeah. And I've had someone ask me, so y'all went down to the hill country. That's so cool. And I said, yeah, it just so happened that this couple specifically asked, hey, could we do it like it, we feel like it would be good to leave, like change our scenario. We want to change change location, and so we did. But it's not like for every marriage intensive we're going to head to the hill country. We could, but
we have places local here in DFW area.
We can
travel to your area.
Yeah, so we can. We've got places here that we can schedule with and meet. So if you live, out of state or even out of the country, whatever, you can come, here to Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we can do it here, or we can come to you. So I am very, very excited and very hopeful about this new tool, just because I keep going back to this, but I wish, babe, that we would have had something like this for us, because we just got stuck in the way that we were doing things, and we were on what we talked about this weekend was that hamster wheel, just hell, just over and over and over again, just digging, and just making it worse, and I wish that there was something like this, and you can't go back. It was all a part of our story. So it's not like really I'm having regrets, but it makes me think, man, I'm so grateful that we have this effective and efficient tool in our hands that we feel so equipped and so excited about that we can say, hey, let's save you some years. Let's save you the divorce, let's give you a shot at saving your marriage.
Yeah. And we keep talking about this new tool, and it is, but man, it's all these resources wrapped up in this tool, in this mediation resource. It's incredible what I saw come out of you, what I saw come out of us. And that's really what I wanted to talk about instead of getting into the nitty gritty about, the couple and that their experience, but just what I saw, because what we've learned. You said, what did you say out there on the porch 5 minutes ago that you wanted to reiterate?
Oh, that we see ourselves in them.
Yes. We see ourselves in these couples. Like we're not beyond it. We're not above it. We've learned some things, and yes, we are applying some new things, and we are achieving some, and I'll just keep going back to that word, the oneness that I feel like, and the synergy of this team. And it's not just my Clifton Strength Finders top 5 and your top 5, and you put them together and you have 10. It's like, it's these two compounds that's making this new thing that didn't exist before. Like when I see
that's a cool way to
team,
think about it.
well, yeah. I was just talking to a friend about ayahuasca. I mean, just saying. No, I've never tried ayahuasca, but I do know it's the vine of one plant and like the leaves of this other shrub, and you mix them together in the potion, and then it makes this thing. And anyway, without getting into that and DMT and all the different compounds in ayahuasca, but it's the total is greater than the sum of the parts, and blah, 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 blah. I mean, this synergy and what I saw as you and I are becoming more one. And it's not just, babe, it's not just doing this ministry together, because I've done it so long myself, and you've done it so long yourself. It's just sharing everything and what I see coming out in us. And again, what God has, the gifts he's given you, and seeing you operating those gifts, and just feeling inspired and creative, and feeling like we're like being gifted new things on the spot, while we put together and synergize and synthesize all the stuff we've learned in our 36 years and working with so many couples. And so this is a great tool, but I just believe it's getting compounded,
Yes.
and it's growing, and it was just so fun, and to do it with you.
Yeah. Well, thanks, babe. The word that I kept saying, and I told you this, but I was telling the kids, I just watched you just be masterful. Like you have just mastered this. And I don't mean that sounds like I'm, putting you up on this pedestal, but just masterfully work through some issues, kind of lead us through, and it was just really cool to watch that, because I've seen it and I know it. I mean, it's what we do every day with couples, as we sit on Zoom or sit in our living room or meet up with them, or, so it's not that that's new to me, but because doing it in this way for hour after hour after hour. I mean, it's just a new way of doing it, and watching, you just take all of these different parts and put them together, and, us use our stories, and different analogies that we have, and we see the light bulbs come on. You've got that whiteboard out, and you're, working it out. It was masterful.
Well, I appreciate that, but I'm telling you, it was like, when you are given, like during that unplug and renew, and then the plug back in during their unplug time, I went for a walk, and what was downloaded to me. And then in the moment when I was hearing them that this morning in that final session, when I was hearing them articulate some of their, the way they were feeling, what they were believing, this analogy came to me. And when we just got on the whiteboard and just started going, and it was literally exploding in that moment. And you just realize there's more where that came from. God's going to give you, when you put yourself in that, for all I'm thinking about Brandon and Lindsay, Charles, when you put yourself in that situation, and you want to be, you want to fix that that pipe, and you become the plumber. God gives you the wrench that you need when you're under that sink at just the right time. It's not like you have to have the gift of wrenches, It's just like being in the flow and allowing God to be there and work in you and through you.
Yeah.
But so when you said we see ourselves in that couple, the being able to relate again, that never feeling like you've got it all figured out or that you're above or we are the experts. But man, we've been in those trenches, like we've been there, and it's just so relatable. A, we're men and women. B, we're married. C, we're human beings. This is the humanity that comes out. And when you're able to be humble and just admit your humanity, most of what we see is in marriage. Man, we're smoke screening these feelings of weakness. We feel weak and we're embarrassed. We're ashamed about some of the things. And so we start fights and we show up as angry, especially with men in men, because we don't want to say we feel afraid or ashamed or sad. And again, I always go to those, but there's so much more: lonely, rejected, abandoned, all the feelings. But when it's like, okay, when you're showing up in humility, like they've done the pre-work and their heart's already changed when they come to this mediation, just that being vulnerable, being humble, being teachable, showing up with grace, and then how we normalize all the stuff that people, the would-be shameful things, like, nope, we've done that. We've been there. That's us too.
It's like when you've been to hell, it doesn't matter how like our, story is different from the couple that we were just with. There are some elements that are the same, but some it's different. We all kind of have a different story, but however you got to hell, in this life, when you've been to hell, you see someone else in hell, and you have kind of a rope that you can throw them and say, hey, grab this. This is the way out. We want to help you. Yeah. Like there's such a deep desire to help because you feel like you've got some, like we've been there, so we know how it feels, and we can help you find the way out. And so, will you follow, and then the really cool part is like what you were talking about a minute ago about just going on that walk and the Holy Spirit just kind of giving you this download, like this will help. Here you go. This will help. And I feel like, it just makes me even more excited. I don't feel overwhelmed by it because I feel like every couple's going to be different, and we're going to have to rely like we've, I was going to say maybe like we've never relied before, but truly, when as we want to help more and more couples, we are going to have to rely so heavily on the words from the Holy Spirit, from downloads from the Holy Spirit. God, we need you. This isn't about us and how much we know and how, far we've come or how good God, keep us in a place of humility and just in a place to receive from you so that we can just turn around and give it to whatever, to the couple that we're working with at the time. Yeah. And that well will never run dry.
Right. Yeah. When people, you just said that when you've been in hell, that you want to throw them the lifeline, I think you said, or the rope or whatever. I've always said, when people say, how do you not just burn out, or how do you still have this passion? And I think it is derived from my, knowing what it felt like to be like sinking and the waves going literally like I'm going down, like my 1, 2, the one finger, the two fingers, and my third finger's up and I'm going down. And so the sense of urgency, I want to throw the lifeline because I know what it felt like to be drowning and to literally feel hopeless. And so the passion is still there. One of the guy joked after our second night. So the first night was a shorter session and a great dinner with the couple and hanging out that night. It was fun. And then after that really long day and the dinner where we went out on our own and the couple did some work on their own, and we went and sat out on that patio with the lights and the live music and had a great that pizza that was filled with those jalapenos and killed me. But when he came back, he just laughed and said, "Thank you so much for coming back."
We didn't know if y'all'd come back.
He joked today to saying he didn't think we were going to come back. But we're gonna come back.
Yeah.
It's not hard, and it wasn't like, oh my gosh, it wasn't a beat down, for us. It was just, it was life-giving. It was life-giving. And I think when we see the light bulbs turning on, and we see the hope returning, and we see them getting some of these new concepts, and being willing then to put them into practice, being willing. I think that's the cool part. You get a chance, not just this new concept, and you go, well, yada, yada, but then you actually go through it and you learn it, and you learn to start applying this. And it's a process that if you go through it, I mean, it's hard to mess it up. It's kind of becomes kind of a foolproof deal,
But it's not a magic pill. Bling, their marriage is all better. And you warned and kind of, told them to kind of guard against this or watch for this. Don't be surprised, that when you come back and the same thing is going to, hit the fan. And so what are you going to do about it? Because yes, you've learned a lot, and you have some new ways of believing and new ways of thinking and some new tools to help you. But when you're in the throes of it's almost like one false move and boom, you're back to immature dummies. That was
the enemy. The enemy is going to come against us. Which one? The enemy? How about you got about 25, 30 enemies on the road coming back from. Yeah, it's going to be, there's always an enemy coming against anything that's good. And so you have to have your eyes wide open for that. And you can't panic, and it's like that training for, people in military training. So when there is the stress, and when there is what would be just panic and that just anxiety where everything goes out the window. So no. You rely on your training. And this is now muscle memory. And you go back to something like, you have to implement this. Otherwise, you're just back to the races. You're just back to the crazy cycle. So, yeah. The cool part that the girl, and I don't want to spoil it, I want to wait for her review, but that she mentioned about you and some things specifically about you. One of the things that I saw as we started out, last night, it surprised me, the first night, it surprised me the emotion that came out as I began, and then the emotion that came out in you as you began this morning. That is, or I guess yesterday morning. Sorry,
it all kind of starts running together, doesn't it?
It runs together. There was a lot, but. That emotion, I just appreciated that tender spirit, that tender heart. So no matter how many, couples we've worked with, and how many hours we've spent, and how often we see ourselves in them, it's not like you just don't get cynical, you don't get jaded, you don't get calloused. I just see that open, tender heart that you still have to receive, and just that grace to give. That nurturing, maternal. Just wise, sage. And I really, like I said, I just really, really appreciate it. I'm learning, it took me so long, but one of the things, that those, and we can call it the strength finders, top 5, or you can look at the Enneagram, and you look at Myers-Briggs, you look at the people code, the color code, or you can just look at Brian and Jamie. I've said you don't have to become an expert on women, just become an expert, on Jamie, don't have to become an expert on men, just become an expert on your spouse, right? But that learning who you are and being curious about who you are and seeing you for who you are instead of who I wanted you to be or who I thought you were when I first married you, it is a freaking treasure. I mean, you're awesome. And just seeing you with a new light. And it's been really, really cool. Yeah, it's like, wow, Brian, how did you miss it? And why did you wait so long? But so I want to comment though on that. So there are so many. I heard this couple today say it, and we hear it. I heard it last week. It's like, man, why do we have to go through this to have the, the reformation, the like reforming our thinking or our minds or transforming our minds or reforming our marriage? There's no other way. You have to go through the death before there's a resurrection. And I just don't want people to lose hope thinking, man, why'd we waste 17 years? Dude, if you get it after 17 years, that was our track record. Like you're ahead of most, literally you're ahead of most couples. If you, but it's like, why can't we just go up and to the right? Right? Why didn't we just start here and we just went up and to the right? Because that's not the way life works. And that's not the way growing works. Pain is the path, and you grow through suffering, and you learn through suffering. You can't, and so you can come hear us. You can learn some things, but you will not avoid the trouble by listening to Brian and Jamie. You won't.
You have to do it. You've got to travel the road, and the beautiful thing that I think we're getting to experience now is, the things that we. That drew us together at ACU in college, the things that you thought were, endearing or cute or funny or things that I was like, oh, I love that about him. Then as you're together for just a little bit, those same things become annoying and irritating, and you're like, oh, you do that all the time, and just start to just kind of drive you crazy about that person. And so you kind of have to wrestle that to the ground, like, oh yeah, that is who they are, and I was really attracted to it, but now it's not funny or oh so cute anymore, or whatever it is. Like it's you just see each other kind of at your worst, and so then now we're on that part of the curve where we're like falling in love again with those things that for a while annoy you or irritate you or you just kind of barely tolerate, and now it's almost like we're unwrapping this gift again that is our spouse.
I feel like yes, I love that. And I feel like for so long when we did things together, there was the stuff that and now I think we're seeing it in its new light, and we're appreciating it and valuing it. But also I feel like we're just way more in the moment. We're more present. There was always this busyness and this stress and things that we got to do and get to, and being able to focus because we did this full time, being able to focus our time and our energy on this ministry. And that's, primarily what I was doing. And I mean, it was a piece of, for sure, what you've been doing for a long time. It's not like we just started this, but with Long Haul, it's been so cool to just be so present and so focused on that. And I know it's just gonna be growing. So I think let's do this with the remaining. Wow, look at our time.
I know. Whoop.
So, little shout out to Long Haul Marriage and what we do. Just not this overhaul package that is the intensive, but also we have the in the shop, we have the tune up, we have the hitting the road packages, and we did it. You heard about our love and lattes and our lucky in love workshops. We are going to be doing another workshop in July, and we're going to be talking more about that later. We're looking at possibly doing another one at the Texas Motor Speedway in April. I'm just putting that out there. And it would just be like probably a 3-hour one evening kind of workshop, just a mini workshop. But man, we're learning we can pack a lot in, and a lot of people want that. Yeah. They don't want the overnight. They won't have to mess with childcare, or maybe if they do childcare, it's just for 3 hours rather than overnight and travel and all that. But someone asked, and so I wanted to share about the podcast. So remember our Long Haul Marriage Roadcast, and it's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and iHeartRadio and YouTube, every major platform. But they were asking me if we're in all 50 states yet. And so I just wanted to say we are not. We're in 27 states.
27.
Yep. But and then our top countries are the United States, obviously, Norway, Italy, Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, and Cayman Islands. So that's where we are.
That's
but we need you to share this podcast with everybody you know.
Yes.
And we're looking forward to, we're going to have some interviews coming up. So interview with a couple, Blake and Adrina Mabry. They're on our board, and they have couple of kids, high schoolers, and so it's going to be interesting. And then one post college.
Yeah,
and we're going to talk to them about a lot of the parenting stuff.
That'll be good.
And that's going to be incredible. But we're also going to interview our adult kids.
That's going to be
And we're going to all be together for that one. So it's going to be the original Hackney 5. So yeah. And so Chandler, Christian, and Carson are going to be on the podcast. And that's going to be the kind of ask us anything or ask them anything. And so, yeah, that interview will be real fun because they're going to tell the good, bad, and the ugly about being our kids and being raised with Brian and Jamie.
Here we go. And I would like to say, just because I just got finished texting a friend of mine who also happens to be one of our just really sweet, generous donors. And so I just want to say thank you because it's on my heart, just to say thank you. Thank you for those of you who donate, whether it was one time or whether you're one of our monthly donors. It helps us so much to keep doing what we're doing, and we love this so much. And so she was texting and just said, I just want you to know, I was just talking to my husband, and we were kind of working on our budget, and we just wanted to let you know we're so happy and so proud to support you guys and Long Haul Marriage because you're just so solid. And that just, I mean, I know it sounds like I'm just tooting our horn, but that just felt really good to hear that because we do want to be really good stewards of what people give us. So shout out to our donors. And if you would love to become a donor, you can go to longhaulmarriage.org and there's a donate button for you.
Awesome. Yeah. And so just one other thing about the podcast, because people asked about some of the things we've talked about, some of our training and some of our intensives and stuff that we've been up to recently, but we're going to be getting into some more marriage heavy topics. And, Jay, I keep saying, man, we need to talk about some controversial stuff. We know what's out there and what blows up and goes viral, and we're not going to be getting into a lot of that stuff, but I just recently Googled, and you can do it and ask, ChatGPT or Gemini or Sesame or whatever, or just Google, kind of the top 5 most frequently asked questions about marriage. And it's depending on how you do your prompt and, what comes up. But I've done this a couple of times, and the top 5 things that have come up, are how do I rebuild trust after infidelity? How do I make a long distance marriage work? What are the reasons people get divorced? I love this one. What should I do if my partner doesn't call me back?
What?
Okay, you're in trouble. And then how do I know if I'm ready to marry? So those last two are about being ghosted or dating and the dating scene, and how do I know if I'm ready to marry? We're going to do a podcast on every single one of those top 5 questions.
I love it.
Yep.
Okay.
It's going to be fun.
Sounds good.
That's coming soon. So that flew way too fast, but thank you for your prayers. We feel great. Everything on the inside, staying on the inside right now.
Yes, we're all better.
And by the way, we talked about March Madness. That's where we began last time.
Yeah.
My Final 4 that I picked, they all made the Final 4. Auburn, Florida, Duke, and Houston. And somebody's going to say, oh, well, you just picked all the number 1 seeds. That's not the way I did it. But it happened to be that way. And if you think that's so easy, then
why didn't everybody do it?
Well, why in the world has it been only one previous time in tournament history where that has happened? And it was back in 2008.
There we go.
Pretty proud. I'm getting some props for that.
All right.
And we'll see. I know I have Duke and Auburn going, and I have Auburn winning. So we'll see.
So does that mean you win $1 million?
That means a month ago, Carson and Jack asked me to put $5 in the pool.
Okay.
So that $5, I think I'm going to turn that into $7.50.
Yes.
$7.50.
We can go get some coffee.
Starbucks. All right.
Hey. I love doing this with you, Mr. Hackney.
Hey, me too. Me too, baby. Love you.
I love you too.